Let's just talk about this 4-hour work week. It was a great hook for a book title, but nobody that could work a 4-hour work week to build the infrastructure, to build a business, to support a life, I think would work a 4-hour work week. Drafting on growth strategies. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys ways to think about your market, to find opportunities of growth so that you could essentially insert your product or your idea or your service in there and get a bunch of benefit of an existing market and where it's going. You know, I really think that most entrepreneurs work way too hard trying to build a product that's a Me Too thing. It's not unique, it's not differentiated, it isn't focused on a niche, and essentially because of that, they have to work so much harder, sometimes a factor of 3 or 4 to finally make their business work. You know, the other day I was in New York shooting a Facebook Live video, and I was just talking about this trend that I saw with some of these software products that choose a niche, but they do it strategically where the other platform itself is growing, and because they're in that platform that they get to grow. So like early Facebook products. If you think about the one that I was seeing was Stripe payments. Like there's a lot of companies out there that are saying we're integrating with Stripe. We're using their product as the hook. The product hook is what I call it. And then that way, anybody uses Stripe, as they grow, they're going to be introduced to our product. So you see this with integrations, FreshBooks integrations, Shopify integrations. And I think that it's such an important way to think about deploying or integrating your product. So that's what I want to share with you, because right after I shared that video, Mike, this guy from the UK, followed up and recommended a book by Richard Koch, who created, I knew the name because he wrote the 80-20 principle, but it's called Rising Stars. So the first principle I want to share with you guys to help you draft off of growth is one that comes straight from his book called Rising Stars. Now, I used to call this transcending vehicles because of my buddy Gare, but it's the idea that if you can attach yourself to a market that's growing, that you'll do really well. I mean, to me, it's the idea of high tides rise all boats. One of my mentors, Ken, said this to me. He's like, hey, you just got to pick the right market to get into. And if you can be mediocre because it's growing 20, 30, 50% a year, then you'll actually build a business. And I mean, it's probably some of the best advice I've ever gotten is choose the right market. You know, I see this with Lululemon in yoga. Yoga was a growing industry. Lululemon was an apparel company. They essentially tied themselves to that. They grew, and now they're in other categories. One that I've seen recently on software is a product called Zen Planner that's used by CrossFit gyms. And what's cool is, obviously, CrossFit's this crazy, phenomenal fitness program that's grown to like now, I think it's like 16,000 affiliate across the world, and most of them are using Zen Planner. And I met with the founders at the CrossFit Games this year, and I asked them, like, how did you start? Did you focus on CrossFit? And they said, no, we focus on martial arts studios. We discovered CrossFit because one of our customers was also a CrossFit affiliate owner, and then we decided to double down. The company is doing incredibly. I mean, if you're a software SaaS founder and you haven't niched into a growth market, another industry or another technology platform product that's raised a bunch of money, then you're really working harder than you need to. So that's number one, is find a rising star. Second is feed a starving crowd, or starving crowd. I borrowed that one from my buddy Rob, but Gary Halbert once told a story, and it's a really great one to understand. He asked a group of students, and he said, if we were starting a burger joint, and you had to pick one, competitive advantage in this burger, what would it be? And some people said, well, I want the best meat, I want sesame seed buns, I want to make sure it's in the right location. They had all these different characteristics of what they considered a competitive advantage. He said, cool, I'll give you all of those competitive advantage. He's like, whatever you want, you can have them, to these students. He said, the only one that I want is a starving crowd. Pretty interesting concept. I mean, to me, that really means that there needs to be a need. Right? In the market, there needs to be a need. And if you can find that for your product, then you will draft off of the growth of just the need in the market that's not being filled. And that, as a founder, that is your responsibility to be creative and go deep and continue to ask the questions to finally figure that out. Even if you're not there today, you can reposition the product to find that crowd that's starving. So that's number 2. 3 is really about fishing where the fish are. This one is such an important part, because especially with platforms like Facebook, where you can be super strategic and focus on who your customers are, there's a lot of power in understanding where your ideal customers are. You know, yesterday I had a lunch with a friend of mine, and he was talking about his tiny homes company. And I was like, man, tiny homes, I never thought about that, but yeah. And then this other guy that was with us, another founder, said, you know what, I've been thinking of building one. That's really interesting that we're having lunch. Give me your card. And I was like, you know what, I'm kind of maybe interested in building one. And then he goes, yeah, I've got this piece of land I don't know what to do with, and I thought that would be a perfect solution. And I said, I have a piece of land. I wanted the same thing. It was like either you get a trailer motorhome because it's like a camp, you're never there. And then I thought to myself, and I was talking to the entrepreneur, I said, look at, there's 2 people out of 6 that are interested in buying your product. What do we have in common? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, we both have land that's not being used. Now, if that's a potential avenue you could go down, fish where the fish are, could you get a list of everybody in this state or province, depending on what country you live in, that has land that doesn't have a building on it? Can you get that list? The answer is yes. That is your potential customer base. So that is the concept that I want to share with you in regards to fish where the fish are. So number 1, just to recap, rising stars. Pick a market or a category, an industry that's growing, and insert yourself in the product hook, is what I call it, to make sure that you can grow with that market. Number 2 is feed a starving crowd. Make sure that that market has the need for your solution so that they want that more than the features and the benefits and all these other bells and whistles. They just have the need, because that'll be the easiest sell you ever make. And then finally, find a place where the fish are. Make sure that you are actually fishing in the right pond, and ask yourself, out of my top customers, what are the characteristics, both in their personal life, the way they make decisions, maybe their financial status, that might mean that that's why they are my ideal customer, and how can I go find more like them? So my question to you in the comment I would ask you to leave below is, what market do you want to serve? Not where you're at today, but if you can think back and ask that question, where do you think you might want to go next? You don't have to tell your company or product idea because you might feel like that's competitive, but I would love to hear from you below in the comments on your market you want to serve. Where's the starving crowd? Where's the fish? What's your rising star? Hook onto it, grow your business. As per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel for other tips on how to start and grow your business. And I'd also encourage you to join my newsletter, where I share exclusive invites to events, community contests, and other free training videos. And if you're ready to get going, check out these couple of other videos I got queued up for you to go today. Have an incredible day. So blessed to have you here. And I'll see you next week.